Hey y'all, welcome back to Woman Heal Podcast. Y'all know we are all about helping women reclaim their voice, rebuild their lives, and return home to themselves. I am your host, Carla Arcanon Lawrence, also known as Coach C, and I am a holistic success strategist specializing in trauma-informed coaching. And y'all know we just have real relevant, raw conversations. And y'all, I am so excited. Y'all know we've been having special guests. I told y'all we're gonna have therapists, we're gonna have psychologists. Listen, I need to be poured into too. I've been doing a lot of pouring, so we gonna get poured into today as well. And so I have today a very special guest. Let me tell y'all something. First of all, I'm naming this episode Sacred Healing, Reclaiming Wholeness Through Faith, Psychology, and Purpose. You understand? And so today we have I'm super excited. Let me just tell y'all what I got. So I'm honored to share space with a woman who embodies the true essence of what we do here on Woman Heal Podcast, right? The goal is to bridge the gap of the sacred as well as scientific, right? So ministry as well as mental health. And Dr. Thema Bryant, she fully embodies that. And so she is a psychologist, a minister, an author, and trailblazer in emotional and spiritual healing. She's graced stages with Oprah. Y'all know over here we call her Auntie O, right? Leads the APA as its past president and empowers thousands through her books and podcasts. And today we're diving into what it really means to heal our broken hearts and come home to ourselves. So help me welcome and introduce to some of y'all the daughter of the late great Reverend Dr. Cecilia Williams Bryant and Bishop John Bryant. Listen, help me welcome Dr. Thema Bryant.
Yay! Oh, thank you so much. All right, I'm here with Coach C, and
Listen.
I am so excited. I love the theme for today so that we can heal and be well. Yes.
Absolutely. And I want to start with this, Dr. Bryant, because Dr. Tamer, because I know that you help a lot of people. You meet a lot of people. You can't remember all of us. So let me tell you how I first came across you. I'll never forget it. It was either 2013, 2014. I was speaking at an event alongside Pam Perry, right? And for
Mhm.
those of you who don't know Pam Perry, she used to be media with Bishop TD Jakes, like she what's the word? PR,
Yes.
public relations for Bishop TD Jakes. And so I was fairly new. Like I started like 2011, 2012. And so I was in that shift in my life at that time. I was in traditional ministry and I was struggling with charging. I'm like, we just want to give everything, honey. I learned the gospel is free, honey, but the anointing is a different thing. And so she said, I was having a conversation with Pam Perry, and she said, "There's someone I want you to follow and reach out to her. She's you're gonna love her. She's so beautifully spirit." And it was Dr. Tamer Bryant. And
Oh,
so this was
wow.
back in 2014. That's how I learned
Amazing. That's
of
a
you.
long time.
And so
Yes.
what happened was I sent you an inbox and
Mhm.
I'm very particular, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't y'all ain't got time to read long books people send. I was very specific, I was like, "Hey Dr. Tima, I was referred to you by Pam Perry and I have a question." And I think my question was like how to know the difference between like coaching and ministry. And I
Mm.
never forgot your answer. Your answer that day was, if it was kind of like basically like charging, not charging. You was like, if someone reached out to you and they have a question, answer the question. You said, but if they have multiple questions, then they need a session. And I know that sounds simplistic to some people, but baby, that set me free because I can't tell you how many people I was coaching and ministering to through inbox. And I'm like, as soon as
Yes.
you send that link, it separates the curious from the
Uh-huh.
serious. So that's
Yes.
how I got introduced to you.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for being that reminder for me and that refreshing of how we landed here. And I'm so glad for this platform, for the work that you have done in providing this space to help people be empowered, to help people heal, for us to live our best lives.
Yes.
And so, yeah, what a gift. Thank you.
You are so welcome. See, I know a lot of people know you from Reverend Dr. Cecilia and your dad and your brother Jamal Bryant. That's not how I met you. Now
Yes.
I did have the honor. We're gonna get into that, but I just want to say this. I did have the honor back years ago when I had Women of Standard magazine. I had the honor of interviewing your mom. about
Oh,
intercessor. We just talked about
wow.
the power of prayer, and we gonna
Ah,
can we just be organic? Like,
yes.
you are a healer, you are a minister, you
Mm,
are a psychologist, you are in the spaces, but you
yeah.
lost your mama
Right,
last year, a
right.
killer. What
And
was
let me
that
say,
like?
I remember that article. I
You
didn't know
do?
that was you.
That was
So, yes,
me.
thank you. Oh, thank you for that beautiful write-up, that beautiful interview. As those of us in faith-based spaces know, a lot of times women labor without recognition. And so it was so important and heartfelt the way you really shine the light on my mom and her ministry. So
Yes.
thank you.
You are so
Oh.
welcome. So how was that for you? Like, and I know we just talking. Like
Yes,
we
yes,
everybody listening, but it's just us.
yes.
But how was that? Like her being such a
Yeah,
pillar of the community, your family, forget the other people,
right.
your family, that's your mama, the matriarch. What
Yes.
was that process like for you? Because grief hits all of us, and I want to hear from one healer to
Mhm.
another. What was
Yeah,
that like for you? What is it like
right.
for you?
Yeah. So I want to say it's still less than a year. And
Mhm,
the two words that always come to me are grief and gratitude.
mhm,
So, grieving her physical presence, and to just be able to like pick up the phone and do all the things,
mhm,
but also such immense gratitude because my family, my brother, my dad, and I continue to get testimonials from people who we didn't even know the impact my mom had on their lives. And so, as you just continue to hear these stories, it feeds you, it nourishes you, it humbles me. I remain in awe of my mom and the ways in which she lived with such a generosity of spirit, such a commitment to prayer. And so I do want to also say that I very much feel her, which has been such a blessing. The two most common times I feel her, one is early in the morning, and it's, I think, because we're finally still, during the day,
right.
you're like hustling and bustling. So when I'm just laying in bed in the morning, then I'm just like, hey, Ma.
Yeah.
And so that feels good to feel her. And then interestingly, I feel her when I'm dancing because
Oh
I
yeah.
love to dance.
Liturgical
And
dancer, that's you.
yes, and she was the one who, like, very early on put me in dance class. And she's also a worshiper. So whenever I'm dancing, I feel her. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm blessed and
Hmm.
grateful.
Girl, okay. Didn't
Yeah.
expect that. That was
Yeah.
whew. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, as a psychologist and a minister, how do you help people honor their faith while also tending to their mental health? Because you tend to kind of help bridge that gap, and it's so needed.
Yes. So, what I do, especially with the Christian community, is to highlight for people scriptures and narratives in the Bible that really show people who loved God and were also in distress.
Mhm.
So I think somehow we have come up with this false notion that if you're Christian, you'll never be sad, you'll never be anxious, you'll never grieve, you'll never be angry. And like all of that is untrue and unbiblical. So, when we look at the prophets, when we look at the Psalms, when we even look at Jesus, we see the full range of human emotions. So, a part of healing is first acknowledgement. So, helping people to come out of denial of saying, like, I'm not mad or I'm not sad, or, for us we can't heal what we don't acknowledge. And so, if all the major and minor prophets talk about distress, talk about being distraught, when Jesus was crying in the Garden of Gethsemane, we get permission to be human. And so I think that frees up a lot of people. And one thing I am grateful for is in more recent times, we have more examples of ministers being more transparent about their struggles and their journeys. I think, when pastors were at first kind of presenting this picture of being unmoved by the world, then it put pressure on people to perform and to, I would just say I'm blessed and highly favored and too blessed to be stressed. And I think, that goes along with the removal of testimony services, right?
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, there was a time for people to share their testimonies about the storms they went through and how God helped them. And so when we remove those services, then we censor and silence our stories and have to pretend that we always have it all together. And so I'm grateful for the wave of honesty, the wave of transparency, because truth telling opens the door for us to have healing and to get free.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you said the first step to healing is acknowledgement. I
Yeah.
say that all the time because I'm gonna be
Ah,
honest, Dr. Tama. I used to get really frustrated with religious leaders because they just would like pour down your throat forgiveness. I'm like, well, wait. That's a part of the
mm,
process, but we got to get there. They
yes.
still in denial. Can we talk
Right.
about that? Like that
Mhm.
part, when do you bring up when you're walking through someone through a process of healing, regardless of whatever it is, and it embodies forgiveness, whether that's self-forgiveness or forgiving others? When does that part come up? Because I know for me, I used to get so frustrated because I'm like, y'all keep talking about forgive, but
Mhm.
I need to unpack. Like I'm
Yes.
not there yet. I want
Yes.
to.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's so important because there is often this pressure for it to be instant. And so there is this forced forgiveness or this performed forgiveness where people have not, as you said, gotten a chance to grieve, gotten a chance to be outraged about outrageous things. And so a part of it is also unpacking for people what that word even means, because some people think forgiveness means you're supposed to act like it never happened. And that's a very dangerous thing to do if you're dealing with people who are unchanged,
Mhm,
right? When there's been no repentance, no transformation, no evidence of a new heart, and then for you to pretend that they're not harm doers can put you and your children in continued danger. So I never start with, well, you just need to forgive. I think it's very problematic. I think it's toxic. I think it supports a culture of abusers. And it goes along with when ministers are abusive and people say, don't talk about the man of God. And they throw out the scripture, touch not my anointed,
anointed,
you
no
know?
prophet, no
And so
harm.
that is somehow supposed to give them a free pass to hurt and harm people, where it somehow becomes a bigger sin for you to say what they did than what they actually did.
Mhm,
So we have a lot of work to do. And then around self-forgiveness, I really slow people down with that because sometimes people are trying to forgive themselves for things they didn't do.
mhm,
So we can be holding baggage for other people having sinned against us.
mhm,
I remember working with a client who had been assaulted as a teenager, sexually assaulted. And she was saying, I pray all the time, but it doesn't help. And so I asked her, what is it that you're praying? And she said, I'm praying for God to forgive me for not being a virgin. So
mm.
now, like, your prayer
You
is
took that
off,
on.
right? Yes. So then it becomes
Mhm,
like, I am sin, that God is somehow mad at me, that, I have to be forgiven for someone else sinning against me. And so, yes, there is room for self-forgiveness when we have actually done something.
mhm.
And so helping people to walk that out so that it is actually based in truth.
Absolutely. Now I want to backtrack for just a moment. I don't know if you get asked this question a lot, but I just love girl time, and it's me
Yeah.
and you. So how did you even get started in this space? Like we're clear on who your parents are. So kind of how did you get into the space of, you know what, I'm gonna become a psychologist, or well, I feel like ministry was kind of inevitable, but tell us your journey in your own words
Right.
of how you ended up in this space and what was it that gravitated you to it?
Yeah, so I will say by personality, by demeanor, by spirit, I've always been a very sensitive soul. So growing up, I was a kid, they would say, oh, she's too sensitive. I feel things deeply. I can, be moved to tears easily. And, in some arenas, that can be presented as a problem. when you are a healer, it's a gift. And so I feel in a lot of ways I was built for it, right? I was shaped for it, that I attend to who's in the corners, in the margins. I attend to not just kind of the flashy, loud folks in the center, but who's being overlooked, who's being underestimated. A part of that is that having been my experience. So I know what it's like to be looked over. I know what it's like to be ridiculed. And so I recognize it, right? When I see it, I recognize it. And so that, is in part, I feel the way I'm built and shaped. And then I will say, growing up, my dad did pastoral counseling, and my mom, doing the women's ministry, also did a lot of counseling. So that was my first kind of exposure to the idea of counseling. And then, of course, when I got a little older, I found out it was a profession in and of itself, right?
Hmm.
And so, once I learned about it and heard about it, I really felt like that was for me. And I will say, I ran from preaching ministry for a very long time, in part because two reasons. One, growing up, the way I heard my parents speak about ministry, it was that that's supposed to be your only thing.
Mm.
Like as
Your
a
life,
ish,
your whole
right?
life.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
So they would chastise, like if you were a pastor and you work somewhere else during the week and like the church is closed except on Sunday, that's
Hmm.
like a no-no. So once I knew that I am called to be a psychologist, that took anything over there like out of the realm of possibility.
Hmm.
And so it was only once I got older that I heard more people talk about being bivocational. I had never heard that term before.
Bivocation.
Yeah, so you can have two callings, right? You can have multiple
Ah, I
callings,
love that.
right? And
Uh-huh.
so it's like, oh,
Taking
okay.
notes over here. I got a pen and a pad.
Right, write it down. Yes, that it doesn't mean, because it usually would get presented as people operating in fear, not having faith for the ministry to grow. And so, like, they're holding on to this other thing, like it's a distraction, not a calling. And so, learning about that opened the doors. And then another barrier I had was I have issues with some scriptures. And I felt like, the way it
That's
gets
why I love
presented.
you, Dr. Taylor. You tell it like it is.
Oh,
That's why I
yeah.
love you. But keep going. I don't want you to lose your thought.
Yes, yeah,
You
thank
are
you.
filling my cup today. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You
I
had
mean,
issues with certain scriptures.
right. And so the way it often gets presented, is if you're a minister, you got to stand by every verse 100%. And I remember a liberating moment for me. My godmother is Renita Weems, who is a womanist theologian. I believe she's the first Black woman to have a PhD in the Old Testament.
Okay.
And, she's incredible. But anyway, I was at a conference, maybe she was preaching, and she used this phrase I had never heard. She is telling a story in the Old Testament, and she says, and this is a suspect text. I said, "What? Can you say that?" Right? So she started like interrogating the text of, who wrote the story, and the fact that so it's, a story with a father claiming, you know, it basically, she's asking the question, where is the story of the daughters? Right?
Mhm.
So the father and the men get to like write the text, and it gets declared the story. It is the
Mhm.
official story, and it is God's story. But
Mhm.
there is no voice to speak to the experience of the women in this story. And so I was like, wow.
Mhm.
Right? Right. She is a preacher of the gospel and has questions, right? And
Mhm.
encourages us to ask questions. And then I was like, oh, then I could do that.
You like, well, I got a list, baby. Here
Right.
we go.
I got some questions. And I think, you know, um in the in church culture, there is often a shunning of questions. So we sing songs about like, no doubt, I didn't have no doubt. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole church full of people who have questions, and God is not insecure. Like an insecure
Mm.
person doesn't like you to ask questions, but God is not intimidated by our questions. So, and now I think especially with like big churches, there's no room for it. Like, in Bible study, there's no room for you to talk back or ask a question. It's basically a sermon, a longer sermon is Bible study with no questions. And then even if you're in a smaller church, uh, questions aren't really encouraged. And if you do ask a question, you're treated like in this condescending way,
Mm-hmm.
of like, it's because pastor said so,
I've
or
seen it.
because,
Mm-hmm.
chapter and verse said so. And so um, we're not uh, equipped for recognizing what I like to say is doubt is an important part of faith development.
Mm.
If you have never, right?
Hey, say that again, Dr.
Yes,
Tuma.
doubt is an important part of faith development because what that means is you're actually grappling with it versus just memorizing, right? If I just memorized it because someone said it when I was 7 years old and I just keep repeating it, then it's still not really mine. I'm just reciting it. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens is life shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when life shows up, then it will hit up against what I was told of who God is or the way life works. And so then I have to wrestle with that. And in the wrestling is the forming of my faith. And so that's a beautiful thing.
Mm, 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 mm. Dr. Taylor, oh my goodness. So I have a question
Yeah.
because you work with all types of people, right? Thank you for sharing where um your passion derived from. Actually, I want to
Mhm.
go here. Let's go back to that word you said earlier when you talked about, you said, I am a sensitive soul,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
What, because we've heard the word sensitive. I've heard you're so sensitive. You're so sensitive to the
Mhm.
point I was like, I'm not sensitive, I'm in tune.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
you're helping me embrace,
Reclaim it, redefine it.
reclaim, and
Yes.
redefine. How did you do that? Because we have
Yeah.
heard that in such a negative context. You're so sensitive. Because I'm the same
Right.
way. Empath, feel
Yes. Yes.
deeply, feel the energy of the room. I don't go to the bank.
Hmm.
I'm looking for the person that ain't nobody paying. I'm the
Right.
overlooked. I'm the same
Yes.
way. So how did
Yeah.
you like get free from
Right.
that term sensitivity and reclaim and
Yeah.
redefine it for yourself?
I think about, what is the opposite? So the opposite is hard. The opposite is cold, right? So I don't want a hard heart. I don't want to be cold-hearted. I don't want to be in the box, right? That's why I love
Mm-hmm.
your hat, your earrings, everything is like, look, yes, free. That's liberation. That is liberation. So I want my heart to also be liberated, liberated to feel, liberated to notice. So yes, we have other words like discernment or prophetic, or attuned, or a seer or a dreamer, like all of these different aspects. But I also like the reclaiming of sensitivity because I find there are actually a lot of us who are very sensitive, and even people who have gotten hardened appreciate being in the presence of someone who is sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Because so I'm a professor at Pepperdine University, teaching students who are getting their graduate degrees in psychology. And one of the things I tell them as it relates to therapy is you're the thermometer in the room. And so when people are sharing with you their life story, it's not for you to look blank or neutral and just say, right? Because many times people have gone through horrible situations and everyone around them act like it was no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a part of my role to reflect back to people that I am moved by their story, right? And me being moved by it is not performance when I'm still tuned into my sensitivity to actually hear what is being said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Now to the next thing that I was about to go to, which, well, thank you. First of all, thank you.
Mhm.
Reclaim and redefine. Like, I
Yeah.
know this is recorded and we going, you know what I'm saying? But I'm taking notes for myself because we got the professor, doctor, listen. So, question, you work with a lot of people
Mhm.
and you've been in the religious space, but you a professor, you a psychologist. So I understand what because I'm in school now.
Mhm.
I'm a psychology major.
Excellent. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Woo.
Look, in school after 40. And so I've been doing
Yes,
life
that's
coaching,
perfect. You're right on
trauma.
time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
I've been a trauma informed life coach for like a long time, over 13 years.
Yes.
But
Uh,
I don't know if I wanted to go the route of psychologist or
mhm.
therapist. So I just said, you know what? I don't got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But my question is, I understand that psychologist deals a lot with study, data,
Mhm.
science. How
Mhm.
did you reconcile that
Mm.
with your faith?
Yeah. It is taking psychology back to its roots. So, the founders of psychology were largely people of faith. And so it only became a quote unquote issue when, as a field, we were trying to so prove ourselves to be a science that it was like anything we couldn't study, control, manipulate, detect, we wanted to distance ourselves from. And so then it became, in our training, people not becoming prepared. When we talk about like cultural attunement, a part of people's cultural makeup is their spirituality and their religion. And so it is problematic to either ignore that or to pathologize it. And especially, I'll say, as a liberation psychologist, when I found the data that women and people of color are more likely to endorse religiosity. And so, if we're more likely to be religious and people who are religious are pathologized or dismissed, who are they doing that to? Women and people of color.
Mm-hmm.
And so, needing to enter into that space, and I'll say, and to be a bridge between the communities because there's misunderstanding from people of faith not really understanding what is psychology, and then mental health professionals who are not people of faith having judgments or assumptions about that. I remember one of the graduate students I was mentoring came to me and she was very concerned because she had a client who was fasting and she wanted to know if that was an eating disorder. So it's just like a lack of
Okay.
knowledge, right?
Yeah. Like what?
Yeah, yes, right. How did you get there? But of course, if you've never fasted before, if you don't know anyone who's never fasted, then you're just trying to figure out what is that, right? So there is a need, and I'm glad for a growing number of people who are fluent in both spaces.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about those communities and the misunderstandings, right?
Yeah.
What about the LGBT community? It's so much going on, and you minister to us because
Yes.
I'm LGBT. You love
Yes.
us. You
Yes.
talk about that, like in your
Yes.
own way.
Right, absolutely. I find it so important for people's full selves to be welcomed and to be treated with care, with love, with respect. It is problematic, the silencing that happens where, it doesn't change people, it changes what people are willing to tell us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
tuck part,
Say that
people,
again, Dr. Tamer. You said it doesn't change
it
people.
doesn't
It
change them.
changes what, because I lived in silence doing traditional ministry
Yes,
for a really long time,
yes,
struggling, coming home, depressed,
yeah,
suicidal ideation,
yeah,
suicidal attempts. Because I'm like,
yes.
get this off of me, get this out of me. And
Right,
that whole,
right.
but keep going.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is, people are very good at detecting, is this a safe space?
Mm-hmm.
And when they know that it's not, then either they leave the space or they stay there and hide that aspect of themselves. And so it never sat right with me, even as a kid. I just, again, that asking questions of
Mm-hmm.
like, this doesn't feel like holiness. like going up in the pulpit and bullying people. Um, and it also, I'm going to say, psychologically, it always revealed itself to me as high insecurity that you would have these supposedly straight male preachers who would never get up there and ridicule drug dealers.
Come on.
They never come for gangsters, but oh, they got all kinds of time to talk about effeminate men. So it's like, oh, that's who you're coming after, right?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
don't had nothing to say about domestic violence. You don't had nothing to say about these molesters. Who you mad at is the gay musician. That's who you're willing to be so brave about. And then the congregation cheering them on like they're doing something impressive. So yeah, I
I got
don't,
you stirred up with that
yeah.
one.
I'm like, because that's and uh it is you a bunch of users that you'll use people for their talent and then condemn them to hell.
Hmm.
It's absurd.
And I,
And
I think it goes back to just speaking on behalf of like the LGBT. I think it goes back to also like representation. Because even as, a queer woman, when I see shows and I'm like, that's really not us. Like, we don't just sit around and just hump all day. Like, that's not, we live regular lives. And I was
yes,
like,
yeah,
but the representation will give me
uh-huh.
pride. And it's, some of it is like, people think because you're in it, you agree with everything. I'm like, well, I'm black, but I don't agree with everything that black people do. Black people that
Right,
don't eat
yes,
chicken. I know a black
yeah,
person that don't eat chicken or watermelon. So
right,
all kind of get, you know what I mean?
yeah,
If they if
yes,
you're a preacher, if someone's a preacher and you've been abused by preachers, now you say I'm like, no, it's not everybody. It's
right,
just those.
yes,
Pay attention to
right,
those characteristics. But you
yeah,
often talk about trauma living in the body.
hmm
Right. So, what are
hmm
some ways we can begin to safely return to our bodies after trauma? Even in some of these
yes.
situations you were talking about, whether it's um, abuse or, those different things, any type of
Yeah.
traumatic experience.
So, one of the ways that we can, as I come home to ourselves, including our physical selves, is breathing. So, the respiratory system is the only system of the body that we can control. All the other systems, well, I can't just sit here and think and it shift, right? But I can uh, take charge of my breath and uh, the when I am breathing uh, deeply, then it sends a message to my nervous system that I'm safe, that I'm okay. So when I am doing that shallow breath or holding my breath, it sends a message to my nervous system to panic that I'm in danger. And so many people live in that vigilant space. And when I'm in a panic space, I can't make good decisions, right? I'm too stressed, I'm too overwhelmed. And so a part of just coming home to the body is coming home to the breath, which is why it's so outrageous that some people will say meditation is against their religion. I'm like, breathing is
Right.
against your religion. How did breathing get to be? And they talk about it's new age. It's new age to breathe. What are you talking about? So again, it's like ignorance, because also, they would call them the desert mothers and fathers of the faith. So early Christian leaders would go out in the desert and meditate. And the longer they stayed there, the more powerful they became. And people would come to ask them questions because they were tuned in, tapped in, rooted, and not distracted. And so to learn how to breathe is a part of reclaiming our bodies. And then dancing and movement. And yeah, I use the word movement for people who get intimidated if you say dance. Even just rocking. We think about like our grandmothers and right? Just rocking
Mhm.
and swaying, look, lifting up holy hands, all of that regulates the nervous system. So whether you want to do like a full out praise dance or a line dance or whatever dance, or just that rocking, swaying, that movement reconnects you to yourself. Paying attention to your body is a way to practice embodiment. When I say pay attention to your body, noticing when you're hungry and also noticing when you're full, so you stop eating,
Mhm.
not becoming dehydrated, drinking water, paying attention when you're tired instead of like, let me watch one more episode,
Right.
right?
Just
Let
turn
me
it
go to
off. Yeah, turn
bed.
it off.
Yes. Yes.
It'll be there tomorrow. It'll be there
Right, right.
tomorrow.
So taking care of our bodies and then also around intimacy, that a part of our healing is actually reclaiming our sexual selves, that God created these bodies and created them with pleasure in mind. And so to tune into that, to know we are worthy and deserving of being in these bodies. And it's not just, and I'll say especially for women, are often given the message of it is your body is to be in service to someone else. And so instead for us to think about, what would it mean for me to reclaim my sensuality or my sexuality or my pleasure?
Okay. So what so what do you say to the woman who has been told, just pray about it, right? But yet she still feel broken and, full of anxiety inside. And I asked this question because it's a very personal question for me. Because if I'm honest, like during I know how can I no longer engage in traditional ministry. Love God down. It's
Mhm.
just been a challenge in Charlotte. Like
Yeah.
either I'll find a ministry where the worship is amazing, but then the word is like, or the word is good and the worship. I'm like, I need both, Lord. I need both.
Mhm. Yeah.
So even before the pandemic, like me and God was like in our own little, so I wasn't as affected, I think, as a lot of people. It's almost like he always kind of shielded me or
Prepared you
protected
before.
me,
Yeah.
prepared me beforehand. But I
Mhm.
just remember like just all those years where I would cry and travail on the altar. Right.
Mm.
My was a bishop. Like
Yeah.
cry, holiness, grew up in
Yeah.
holiness church.
Yeah.
And so yes, I learned a lot of things in traditional ministry. Yes. I say traditional ministry because to me that separates like the religion. I'm not talking about the religious spaces because
Mhm.
religious to me is like scribes and Pharisees. But
Mhm. Mhm.
traditional spaces were like those safe spaces, but it's
Yeah.
a form of traditional ministry.
Yes.
It's an organization.
Yeah.
But I would cry and travail on the altar and get prayed over and all those things. And so yes, I learned a lot of valuable things, but it was not, I don't feel like I really began to experience soul healing
Mm.
so deep. So I'm talking about
Mhm.
uprooting that mother wound, that father
Mhm.
wound, that sister wound, that
Yeah.
low self, all of that. Cause I look just like this, so nobody could see it, right?
Mhm.
I would be
Mhm.
sitting in church with my girlfriend. I look like this, she looked like a dude. So they
Mhm.
going to her. I'm like, you you ain't discerning anything because you
Right.
went over me to go to her. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? But
Yeah.
and so it wasn't until I got into like the healing space of like really getting into therapy and
Mhm.
praying. I mean, I bring my full self, my spirituality.
Mhm.
I pray for the right therapist. I pray
Good.
so
Good.
and so that's what I mean by that. It's like
Mhm.
how like what do you say to that woman that is because it's still a thing. Oh, I had an apostle tell me some years ago. He was like, "You don't need therapy. You are the therapist." Worst advice ever.
Yeah, terrible. And the people who tell you not to go need to
They
go
need to
twice
go
a week.
themselves. They
They
need to go
need
twice a
more.
week.
Yes. Yes. They're like, look at me. I never had any sessions. And then we're like, look at you. Look at you. Right.
But that's still a
So,
thing where people are
yeah,
battling with therapy and spirituality. I'm like, God uses all of it. But I
right.
want to hear from
Yeah.
your perspective.
Yeah. I would say, when we think about any other area of our lives, we do prayer and action. So if you're having a flood in your house, you don't just pray, you call the plumber, right? If you have a toothache, most of us don't just pray. You either get some ointment for there or you go to the dentist. When you want your child to learn, you either send them to school or you homeschool. You don't just pray that God will make them knowledgeable. So we want to treat our mental health in the same way that taking action doesn't negate your prayers. Taking action doesn't mean you don't have faith. It's like if you pray for a house, you don't just sit in your apartment waiting for the house to show up. You go
Mhm.
looking for a house, you go apply for the loan. And so to walk out the faith so that whatever way in which God wants to show up for me in this healing process, I'm open to it because I think all of us who are in that church space have seen people who fall out every week. lay in the ground crying every week and get up and live the same. And like, did anything happen? Yes, people can have experience healing or deliverance, but still need support in walking it out.
That
Uh,
part.
right? It's like, how do I live free? Because I'm used to these old patterns and I've never seen it a different way. And so giving people that support so they can, walk out their healing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, you said you can be whole even while healing. Can
Hmm.
you elaborate on that?
Yes, that we are, if we think holistically in the spirit, you have never not been whole. What has happened is we have been talked out of our wholeness. So we have been treated like we were trash, but we were never trash, right? We've always been a treasure, just some people didn't honor the treasure. So then it talked us out of our own worthiness. Because then I figured, well, if all these people are treating me this way, it must be the truth of me. But it's always been a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So then it is me coming home to the truth that my treatment has not always been a reflection of my worthiness.
I love that. I want to call you Dr. T for some reason.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
call you Dr. T. I'm gonna
You
call you
sure
that.
can. Yes.
Okay, okay. Can nobody else call you that but me now? Can nobody- So I want to say, listen,
Mhm.
baby, homecoming, y'all, overcome fear and trauma to reclaim your host authentic self. Matters of the heart. I have that on Audible. Um,
Oh, good.
but this right here, listen.
Yes.
Your book, Homecoming, is a powerful invitation to return to self, right? To
Mhm.
yourself. What inspired your message, and how do you personally stay connected to your inner home? And if y'all don't got this book, what Mary say, go get it, go get your blessing.
Hey, hey. And I love that you have the audio as well, because I'll have some people who are like, I'm not into reading. And I'm like, fine, listen to it.
Listen
You
to it.
don't, yeah, if you don't want to read it, you could, while you're cleaning, while you're sitting, while you're driving, you can listen. And so, what inspired my own journey, I say in the introduction that I had multiple homecomings because multiple experiences disconnected me from myself. And then, as recent as, the death as my mom that we talked about. So that like kind of it disrupts your sense of things. And then you got to like get recentered and regrounded and come on back to yourself.
Hmm.
And so then wanting to share that as a resource for people, because I share in the social media space, but those have to be kind of brief nuggets. And so then people are always asking questions. So I'm
Hmm.
like, how can I give more information? And so that's what led to first the podcast, the Homecoming podcast. And then as a result of the podcast, I was contacted by publishers about, had I thought about doing a book based on the podcast.
Hmm.
So I'm grateful. And that one, Homecoming, I wrote during the pandemic. And then Matters of the Heart is the follow-up because Homecoming is healing from stress and trauma. And then Matters of the Heart is healing your relationship with yourself and with other people.
Hmm.
And so both things are really important.
Oh my goodness. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of Dr. Nicole LaPera,
Yes,
the
yes,
holistic psychologist?
yes.
Y'all two are my right right
Thank
here. You understand? Right here.
oh,
And I'm not just saying that. I really
thank
mean
you.
it. Like it 2013, 2014, it's a long time. I've been listening and following. What I wanted to ask you, well, first I wanted to say thank you because homecoming, I don't know if you can see, and I feel like with matters of the heart, I need to hold it, feel it. I'm
Yes,
that, right? I
yeah,
think I got matters of the heart to like support you that week or something.
yes,
It was
yes.
something going on that was like a promo. And so I just clicked it. I
Uh-huh.
was like, I got to get this.
Thank
But
you.
I was like, no, I got to get the hardcover too.
Yeah, so
I
you
like
can have a
Audible, but
right, but you like to highlight and write.
you
Oh,
can't see that.
yes.
Yeah, but I write all, you can
Yes, I
see
see
it.
it. I see it.
Like you can see all,
And
like
look, she
it's
read it
not a
for real.
game. Oh, it's
Oh,
not a
come
game.
on.
I don't
Come
play no
on.
games. Like we don't come up here for
Yes.
clickbait. I only feature people and have conversations with people that mean something to me that I feel like either their story is powerful or there has to be some type of connection. But I gotta ask you this.
Mhm.
What was it like meeting Auntie O? Oprah?
Oh.
What was that? Because you look, I'm always looking at your demeanor. Like you're just always so freaking calm. And I'm like, I know on the inside she got to be going, "Ah," but you're like, I'm a big deal too, oh, but I'm just saying, what was that like? Was that your first time
Uh,
meeting her with all the women?
no. So I had met her before as a child. My dad was her pastor. So that's when she was a newscaster in Baltimore, Maryland. So in elementary
Okay.
school, we would see her up in the balcony every Sunday morning. That was
Yeah.
before she had her own show and,
Yeah.
blew up in all those
She was
ways.
Oprah Winfrey. She won't just
Right.
Oprah.
Yes. Yes. And then I got to work with her when The Color Purple came out. I was president of the American Psychological Association, and we partnered with them to create a discussion guide for the movie The Color Purple. So that was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And then with, coming on her podcast with the interview, it was funny.
That was
It
my
was New
name.
Year's Eve. I was in Atlanta to attend a wedding. So I went to, it was an evening wedding. So my brother was having a noon service at New Birth. So I went to the noon service and they did a special altar call where you could come to the front to pray, over your new year.
Hmm.
And it was literally as I was standing at the altar that a text came through from her producer. And so when I got back to my seat, I was like,
Okay, God.
yes. I said, is this how, because of course, ending last year with my mom passing and all of that, I just felt like it was a God wink, a God hug of like things are going to be better.
Hmm.
And so,
It was a
yeah,
full circle moment. It was
yes,
definitely a full circle moment. Now I
right.
gotta go on the other end, okay?
Okay.
So you know your brother is the king of controversy. We love Dr. Jamal Bryant, but y'all temperaments are like night and
Yes,
day, right?
yes,
Passion equal, but temperaments are just different.
right,
What
right.
is it like being the older? So you're his older sister, right?
No, that's what everybody thinks.
Oh, he's older than you? Google got that wrong. I'm mad at
Look,
you're
yeah.
okay. He's your older brother.
Yes. But I think
Wow.
because of temperament, people always think I'm the big sister because I'm more kind of calm.
Yeah, because he like me. I'm the little sister. We like, Well, what is it like having Dr. Jamal Bryant as a big brother?
Yeah. Oh, he has been such a gift to me. So when I did my initial sermon, I
Mhm.
did it at his church in Baltimore. So he's also, we would call it father in the ministry, or it
Yeah.
could be your mother or father, your parent in the ministry.
Hmm.
And so some of the best advice anyone has ever given me in ministry was from him because, when I first started, I was thinking you had to kind of follow the formula of the 3 points and blah, blah, blah. And
Hmm.
so he said to me, you're a poet and a psychologist. So whenever you preach, I should hear that. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh, like I could,
Hmm.
so
That
that
could
kind
be
of
me.
gave me, yes, that I could be myself, right? And so then, so my sermons are poetic and it's definitely gonna have
They
mental health
are.
in it. So I just, yeah, really honor and appreciate him for like giving me that nudge to be myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what legacy do you hope your words, your work, and your witness have for the women around the world that get the opportunity to experience you, whether through social media, your writings, your just in any capacity? What are you hoping the legacy? Because I remember Oprah said, per my Dr. Maya Angelou, she said, um, your legacy is every life you touch, whether
Yes.
known or unknown. That's
Right, right.
your legacy. But for you,
Yeah.
what are you hoping that looks like for you?
My hope is that people who encounter me or my work in any way will experience healing and liberation and permission to bloom.
That's beautiful. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. Now, last question, and then we're just gonna do some quick because I'm big on time. I'm gonna get you out of here on time. There's so much hopelessness, right? And uncertainty and fear in the world. Can you take a moment and just whatever is in your heart, whether it's a message of hope, whether you speak prophetically, whatever it is you want to release. But there's just like even us as professionals, like we are kind of exhausted because it's like so many. It's just a lot going on. We have our own stuff. Your heart goes out. It's like sad story after sad story. Before that, let me ask you this: how do you take care of yourself, Dr. Tamer? Like you pour out a lot. Like what is your regimen? What do you do? Your skin
Yeah.
always looks amazing.
Oh,
Like your locks are growing so beautiful. I'm locking under here. That's what
oh,
I
I
got the hat
love
on.
that.
Child, it's a struggle. Pray for me. I'm gonna inbox you every now and then. Say pray for me. It's a struggle. But how do you? I'm gonna go back to that. But how do you take
Yeah.
care of? I always like to ask,
Mm.
especially with you being a healer and
Yeah.
feeling so intensely, because I'm sure there was a time you had to learn that, right?
Right.
Like this
Right.
was
Right.
separating what's yours, what's not yours. But how do
Yeah.
you take care of yourself with being a
Yeah.
professor and a psychologist and a
Mhm.
ministry leader and just all of these things?
Right. Yeah. So one is I have a sisterhood circle of some super bad, awesome, gifted, incredible women. Because I found, especially as a therapist and a professor, when I'm in those roles, I'm the one who's pouring.
Mhm.
And so I had to be intentional about creating a circle of sisters where we pour into each other, where
Mhm.
it's mutual and it's reciprocal, where they can hold me accountable, where I can like hear from them, where I can unfold. And we do that for each other so nobody feels like they're carrying the weight of the group.
Mhm.
And I like to say, about them all being gifted. In any space I am, I could hand any one of them the mic and they could take it on home.
Go.
They
I
like they,
love that.
yes, I mean, super gifted, super gifted. So I'm so grateful for my sisterhood circle, so grateful for my own therapy. And it's important for me to have space to process and to grow and to reflect. Dancing is always healing for me. There's a praise dance conference in LA where I live this week, so I'm going to be heading there on Thursday. Uh,
Hey.
yes, so I was like, yeah, let me move this body.
I love
Yeah,
seeing you in those healing spaces. Like I saw you with, was it the sound bowl you be doing?
yes,
Like,
yes.
how do you? I know the church people like, because that even I heard that I was like, the sound bowl. You, wait, it's what?
Right. Yeah, people want to make anything they're not familiar with satanic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, do you not recognize like instruments are like God's creation? So I think it's, people's anxiety and lack of awareness. So,
Absolutely.
I do have, people who come for me and I don't let it bother me. I know that some people were very upset. I preached at my brother's church and I used the term, I use she in reference to God. And oh, they were mad. Ooh, look, they tried to come for me on Instagram.
They won't go do nothing. They won't go do nothing at New Birth. Boy,
Right. Oh, no,
God,
no,
they
no.
know. They know. Now, Jamal,
Yeah.
I just got a feeling he'll still knuckle up now. You better watch out.
Right, right. So, yeah, so I feel free. And I think a part of my freedom, one is, as it relates to that, how sad that it would make people angry to think about God in their image. We're made in the image and likeness of God, and God doesn't have genitalia. So, like, we are reflections, sons and daughters of God. So, anyway, I think a part of what helps me stay free is I'm actually not dependent on that space for my living.
Come, say it again.
Yeah, I am not dependent on that space for my living. So it frees me up to speak the truth as it gets downloaded to me. And people can take it or reject it, and that's fine.
Dr. Tamer. Now, I know you hip to boots on the ground. You know this mean clock that T, right? That's what that means.
Yes.
That mean clock that T. That mean yes, sis. In the poetry world, you know how we snap. When
Yes,
you
yes.
really doing it and you don't want to disrupt, you just so you can do
Thank
this.
you.
I got you.
Okay.
So when you in a space, you know your poetry,
Yes.
you do the snapping. But when
Uh,
somebody is putting something, we'll yell like amen, honey. I was seeing Les
right,
Brown
right.
one time saying amen. Then I learned like,
Okay, okay. Got look
I
here.
got
I'm learning from
you.
Coach C. Coach C.
I got you. All right, real quick, rapid fire. I haven't forgot about that message of hope. Really, I'm gonna let you close out with that. But one word, right? Healing looks like what to you?
Freedom.
Freedom. God to me is
Everything.
yes. My daily non-negotiable is
Rest.
I love that. What I tell myself when I want to quit is
Not today.
not today and not tomorrow neither. And the
Right.
last one is the most healing thing I've ever done is.
Come home to myself.
And tell the people how to get in touch with you, Dr. Tamer. I could tell them drtamer.com and
Yes.
just a closing word, how to get connected with you, anything you got going on, and then close the last voice they're gonna hear on that end is gonna be you, and then I'm gonna just close us out.
All right, wonderful. So, as you said, my website is drtama.com. On social media, I'm Dr. Tama. The books are everywhere that books are sold. And my closing word of hope is that midnight, even though it is our darkest time, is actually the start of a new day. And so the new day has already begun. And trust God for the daybreak.
I love that. Listen, y'all, we're
Mhm.
not gonna come behind that. I believe when the doors are closed, they close. Listen, y'all, listen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Woman Heal Podcast. Make sure you click that subscribe button. If you are listening on Apple or Google or Spotify, wherever you're listening, make sure you share this with a sister friend. Y'all share this with somebody who needs to hear these powerful conversation of just two women dialoguing, two healers having a conversation. And just remember, like we always say, what happened to you may not be your fault, but healing is your responsibility. We'll see you next time. Tell the people bye, Dr. Bryant.
Bye bye.
Dr. T.
Take